Tonight, border fears a second group of asylum seekers found in WA's far north, the major operation to get them overseas.
A show for the eras. Taylor Swift brings the house down in her biggest ever concert.
Not good enough. A second MP dumped by the WA Liberal Party in as many weeks.
Worldwide condemnation. Vladimir Putin triggers diplomatic fury over the suspected murder of his chief opponent in prison.
Prince Harry speaks out about the King's cancer battle and how he thinks it could bring his family closer together.
And thousands turn out to see Harley Reid's pre-season debut as the Eagles announce the banner is back.
Live from Perth, 7 News with Angela Tsun and Tim McMillan.
Good evening. A second group of asylum seekers has been found in WA's far north, with concerns now growing more than one boat breached our border.
The revelation comes after a group of 30 men from Bangladesh and Pakistan were taken into custody yesterday. Nick Overall has exclusive pictures of where they scrambled to shore.
A second group of asylum seekers on WA shores. 13 men from India and Bangladesh, their clothes scattered across a beach at Pender Bay, arriving 150 kilometres north of Broome around 5 o'clock yesterday. Tonight, concerns a second boat could have arrived. It's understood they were put on a bus this morning alongside the 30 men found yesterday near Beagle Bay. All now taken to Curtin Airfield, where they await a flight to Nauru.
I don't want to go back to Pakistan. They're not like they're treating us like a human being.
People who attempt to arrive here by boat will not settle here.
But the opposition claims it's a sign of cracks in the government's border policy.
I know exactly how these people smugglers work. They will react to a weak Prime Minister and to a weak Minister. And if they see vulnerabilities, they will exploit them.
The Labor government should have closed offshore detention when it got elected. They've gone through a hell of a lot.
Asylum seekers have long been a political football, the coalition introducing Operation Sovereign Borders in 2013.
You've got to stop the boats.
The number of reported boat arrivals dropped from 300 to 1 in 1 year. Since Anthony Albanese was elected, at least 2 have made it to shore. Asylum seekers sent to Nauru for the first time in a decade. Border Force is yet to confirm if all of the asylum seekers who arrived in WA have been accounted for, saying only that Operation Sovereign Borders is as strong now as it was when it first began. Any alternate narrative will be exploited by criminal people smugglers.
You will never settle in Australia. You have zero chance of success.
Tonight, questions of whether there may be more to arrive yet. Nick Overall, 7 News.
The world's biggest pop star has performed to the biggest crowd of her career, delighting more than 90,000 Swifties in Melbourne. And after her 3.5-hour show last night, Taylor Swift has now taken to the stage for night 2 to do it all again.
Miss Americana Down Under.
Just gonna remember all of this that I got to look at one Friday night in Melbourne.
Making history.
This is the biggest show that we have done on this tour.
And dreams come true. Milana Bruno is the lucky little fan taking home more than just memories.
Yeah. Did you think in your wildest dreams you'd be on stage with Taylor?
Not really.
The 9-year-old brought to tears given the most priceless piece of merch, a signed hat.
All my friends text me and stuff like that, like, did you get this, did you get that?
For fans, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for a 3.5-hour trip through Taylor's 10 eras. From the premium seats to the nosebleeds, the stadium filled by 96,000 Swifties. Not only the biggest crowd of her career, but also the biggest crowd in a decade for any female performer. Not even counting the thousands of tailgaters.
What happened? Why are we out here and not in there?
Because we didn't get tickets! Ticketless, but taking it all in from the outside. And as Taylor revealed the Bolter bonus track to her new album, fans were beside themselves.
I've never had an album where I needed songwriting more.
Before fireworks and confetti took over the midnight sky. And on Tay Day 2, the megastar made a mega donation to Food Bank.
Thanks to Taylor, we've got thousands of people across Victoria now with a bigger smile on their face.
As Swifties prepare for Taylor's second concert tonight. Lucy McLeod, 7 News.
A family travelling to see the pop star has been involved in a deadly crash in regional New South Wales. 2 girls and their mother were inside the car when it collided with a semi-trailer near Dubbo. The eldest sister, a 16-year-old, died at the scene, while the 10-year-old was airlifted to hospital in a critical condition. She suffered a suspected brain injury. Their godmother says it was meant to be a road trip of a lifetime for the Gold Coast sisters.
A motorbike rider has been killed in a crash in Cottesloe. Police say the rider of the Harley-Davidson was travelling west on Hawkstone Street just before 4:30 yesterday afternoon when he crashed into a tree. The 33-year-old died at the scene. Major Crash are appealing for any witnesses to come forward.
There's more turmoil in the Liberal Party tonight after members voted to dump a sitting federal MP. Ian Goodenough is the second parliamentary representative to lose endorsement in as many weeks. He warns it could lead to factional warfare. Here's State Political Editor Jeff Parry.
Ian Goodenough would certainly have known his time was up when he arrived at a meeting of the Liberal Party's Moore division this morning. Any plans if you don't win?
I haven't thought about that. I'm in there to win.
Challenging Mr Goodenough for the right to contest the 2025 federal election is former Army officer Vince Connolly.
Are you expected to get any vitriol from Liberal members upset that you're challenging an incumbent?
Look, as I said, can't really talk in any detail about the events.
Mr Goodenough has been in federal parliament for 10 years, rising only to become second deputy speaker and never considered for a ministry. He narrowly avoided losing pre-selection in 2022 with the help of WA Senator Michaelia Cash. That support evaporated this time around and it was left to Liberal Party members to decide his fate. He was steamrolled, 137 votes to 39. So Mr Goodenough, your reaction to the result?
It's a disappointment to have not won the pre-selection. But
Mr Goodenough revealed he's spoken to opposition leader Peter Dutton and agreed to remain with the party until the next election. But he warned his dumping could have consequences.
I hope that doesn't result in a civil war within the party.
If elected, Mr Connolly will be making a return to federal parliament. He was the member for Stirling until the seat was abolished in 2022. It wasn't age that counted against Ian Goodenough. He's only 49. Ultimately, it was a lack of performance. Last weekend, the Liberals dumped the member for Cottesloe, David Honey. At 65, there was seen to be no place for him in the party rebuild. Next weekend, the Liberals will meet to choose a candidate to take on the popular independent MP, Kate Cheney, in the formerly blue ribbon seat of Curtin. Jeff Parry, 7 News.
WA nickel miners have been handed another lifeline. The state government has announced it'll defer half their royalty payments for 18 months as the price of the mineral continues to plunge. The scheme will kick in if it falls below $20,000 per tonne in a quarter. It comes as BHP announces it's considering shutting down its WA operations, putting thousands more jobs at risk. The embattled industry is dealing with sudden and drastic global price falls as cheaper Indonesian product floods the market. After years of persecution, torture and attempts on his life, Russian opposition leader and Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny has died in prison. Moscow claims Navalny collapsed after taking a short walk. But tonight the Western world is pointing its finger at one man, Vladimir Putin.
Vladimir Putin was so threatened by this man, it wasn't enough to lock him up.
We are just coming back, joining you with breaking news. CNN has learned that Alexei Navalny has died.
In the final hours of Alexei Navalny's life, he appeared gaunt but still smiling. By the morning, Russian prison guards were claiming he'd fallen ill while out walking and died suddenly.
Make no mistake, Putin is responsible for Navalny's death. Putin is responsible.
The American president's remarks shared by Australia.
And we hold Vladimir Putin and the Russian regime responsible for this death in prison.
The fact that Mr Navalny's been poisoned, that he's been tortured, ultimately all of that falls at the hands of Vladimir Putin.
Navalny was jailed in 2021, accused of terrorism for challenging the Russian president and exposing corruption. In December, he was moved even further out of sight to an Arctic penal colony known as the Polar Wolf. Just hours after learning of her husband's death, Yulia Navalnaya telling a security conference in Munich,
I want Putin and everyone around Putin, Putin's friends, his government, to know that they will bear responsibility for what they did to our country, to my family and to my husband. And this day will come very soon.
And embraced too with the European Commission President. As opposition leader and an outspoken Kremlin critic, Navalny inspired a wave of government protest. Such a thorn in Putin's side, he soon became a target, barred from running for president, then poisoned with a nerve agent on a flight from Serbia to Moscow. After an emergency landing and months of treatment in Germany, he defiantly returned to Russia, knowing he'd be arrested on his return or worse.
Нельзя сдаваться. Если это произошло, это означает, что мы необыкновенно сильны в этот момент.
We cannot take democracy for granted. We need to cherish it and nurture it.
Only days ago, Navalny posted a Valentine's greeting to his wife. I feel you are near me every second, and I love you even more. He also leaves behind 2 children and many more Russian supporters, reminded tonight of the dire consequences if they dare question Putin's iron grip on the country. In London, Ashley Mullaney, 7 News.
A New York judge has ordered Donald Trump, his sons and business empire pay more than $500 million in fines in a landmark fraud case.
The former president is also banned from doing business in the Big Apple for 3 years. He's certain to appeal the ruling, describing the case as a witch hunt.
Donald Trump's self-styled image of brash mogul with a cunning business sense today unravelling in the city where he made his name.
These are people that shouldn't be allowed to do the things they do.
Trump's empire slugged a $500 million fine for fraudulently inflating the net worth of his sprawling property portfolio, puffing up the value and size of assets like his Mar-a-Lago estate and his New York towers to secure cheaper loans.
Donald Trump engaged in deceptive business practices and tremendous fraud.
His adult son slapped with $6 million penalties, his former CFO $1.5 million, while the former president is now banned from serving as a director on any New York company and from applying for business loans for 3 years.
The scale and the scope of Donald Trump's fraud is staggering, and so too is his ego.
A cantankerous defendant during a 2-week hearing, Trump was described by the presiding judge today as having a total lack of contrition and remorse, bordering on pathological.
We'll appeal, we'll be successful.
This ruling falls a fraction short of the corporate death penalty that prosecutors had been gunning for. Still, it's set to sting the man who's built an empire and an image on this idea that he's been successful in business.
He's been a grifter since day one.
Does he have the money to pay, or will he be forced to liquidate prized assets? Questions now facing the man who claimed he had the Midas touch. In New York City, David Woywood, 7 News.
Prince Harry has acknowledged his father's fight against cancer may help reunify the royal family. For the first time, the Prince has spoken publicly about his rushed visit to see King Charles, soon after his father's diagnosis was made public.
He's the Californian royal, a world apart from family, just as his dad begins a battle with cancer.
What's sort of your outlook on his health?
That stays between me and him.
Prince Harry saying he learned of the illness in a phone call with his father.
I jumped on a plane and went to go and see him as soon as I could.
How was that visit for you emotionally?
Look, I love my family. The fact that I was able to get on a plane and go and see him and spend any time with him, I'm grateful for that.
For now, Buckingham Palace has given few details, saying doctors have diagnosed King Charles with a form of cancer. He's postponed public-facing duties and has begun a schedule of regular treatments. The Prince's comments came as he visited Canadian ski resort Whistler to promote next year's Invictus Games for injured ex-servicemen and women. Prince Harry pressed on whether the King's illness might have a reunifying effect on his family.
Yeah, I'm sure. Throughout all these families, I see it on a day-to-day basis. The strength of the family unit coming together.
Harry also acknowledged he has considered American citizenship, though said it wasn't a pressing issue for him. The Prince taking a ride on a bobsled, at one point reaching 99 kilometres an hour. Tim Lester, 7 News.
An extreme heatwave is set to hit Perth from tomorrow, with temperatures to reach 43 degrees. It's the third severe hot spell we've had in as many weeks. Business and sporting events called off ahead of the sweltering forecast.
Making the most of the summer heat before it turns extreme. Tomorrow, Perth's third heatwave in as many weeks is set to hit, and authorities warn it could be the worst yet.
And we're going for another day tomorrow above 40. And then another day above 40 on Monday, and then possibly another day above 40 on Tuesday.
The temperature is tipped to hit 43 degrees around 2 p.m, but the Bureau says it could soar higher to 44. 42 is expected on Monday, and on Tuesday, 39 forecast, but again, a chance it could be even warmer.
Overnight, we're looking at temperatures around the mid-20s, so yeah, certainly hot through the night.
It's on track to be a history-making summer. 2 days ago, Perth recorded the most February days over 40 degrees, with 5 in total. But by Tuesday, we could have 8 days on the board, a new heat level unlocked. This would also be only the third ever extreme heatwave to impact the city. The Bureau judges heatwave intensity on how much it expects it will shock our bodies. Extreme ones are rare and will affect even healthy people, putting anyone who exercises or works outside at risk. Health authorities are also on alert. 9 people across the state were hospitalised for heat stress in the most recent heatwave hot streak. Tomorrow, some outdoor markets are not taking the chance.
People pass out from heat stroke at events in the past when it hasn't been so hot.
The Ascot Racecourse's Sunday meet has also been abandoned, and some community sports will start early to beat the worst of the heat. No doubt plenty of Sunday drink breaks required for everyone. Jenny Shon, 7 News.
You're watching 7 News live from Perth.
Coming up, melanoma hope. A new treatment gets the green light in the US when it'll hit the Australian market.
Plus, 2 underage teens accused of carrying out the Super Bowl mass shooting.
The lifelike videos created by new AI technology. Can you tell the difference?
Shock splits. Robert Irwin calls it quits with his Perth-born girlfriend.
And an emotional tribute to an Australian baseballer taken far too soon. That's later.
A car has ploughed into a home in Perth's northeast. The driver of a white Toyota Camry took out a letterbox before slamming into an Ellenbrook home. It happened on Grassdale Parkway around 11 this morning. It's believed the lady suffered a medical episode. The front of the home was damaged, but the window remains intact.
Only days after Valentine's Day, there's been a shock split in the Irwin family. Robert Irwin and his girlfriend Rory Bucky from Perth released a joint statement saying they're going their separate ways. The couple had been together for around a year. Bucky last year revealed she'd even been working at Australia Zoo.
A groundbreaking new treatment for advanced melanoma has just been approved for use in the United States. It uses a person's own immune cells to fight the skin cancer. And while it's not available in Australia yet, there are hopes it will one day be able to treat a range of tumours.
How's your workout?
It was good.
Dan Bennett's life was saved by his daughter Faith 13 years ago.
I had a brown freckle on my neck, and she told me I should go get that checked out.
That freckle was melanoma, a deadly form of skin cancer starting 3 years of surgery and radiation as it spread through Dan's body.
Nobody can tell if something's going to move from your right armpit to your left armpit to any other lymph node.
It also went to his brain. He would live because of a treatment called TIL, tumour infiltrating lymphocyte therapy, today approved by the FDA. That's the US Food and Drug Administration, the equivalent of Australia's TGA. The therapy developed in special labs like this.
Here's where we take the tumours.
using a patient's own immune cells taken from inside the tumour, multiplied and stored in these vats.
We would take out a tumour and then send it immediately to the lab, where the lab would grow out the immune cells from the tumour, expand them to billions, and then give them back to the patient ultimately.
In clinical trials, 30 to 40% of patients saw their cancer shrink or disappear. TIL therapy is not yet available in Australia, partly because of the cost, but also the lack of specialised knowledge and facilities. The West Australia Melanoma Initiative is hoping to change that using $3.5 million in grants, providing new hope for the 17,000 Australians who are diagnosed with melanoma each year. In the United States, Marley Hogan, 7 News.
2 teenagers have been charged over the Kansas City Chiefs parade shooting that killed a woman and injured more than 20 people. They're accused of gun-related offences and resisting arrest, while a third person taken into custody has since been released. Detectives expect to bring further charges soon. As the city recovers from the attack, it's been revealed singer Taylor Swift has donated more than $150,000 to support the family of the woman killed.
Wild weather has led to the collapse of a highway in Brazil. A drone operated by emergency crews was hovering above the cracking road in the country's south when it suddenly gave way, sending bitumen and debris into a nearby river. It comes after weeks of torrential rain and widespread flooding.
There's been a heart-stopping police chase in the US state of Maryland. A man hijacked a tow truck and went barrelling through busy streets, at one point colliding with several police cars. Officers tried to corner the driver in an empty parking lot, but he sped into a paddock with equipment on the back of the truck snagging electrical wires. Police eventually caught up with him, smashing the truck's windows and taking the man into custody. And don't be fooled, these videos might look real, but they're entirely computer generated. A new artificial intelligence tool known as Sora has launched online, and it can take any text prompt and turn it into a short video. The technology has impressed even the most hardened AI experts, who say it will transform content creation. Carjacked at a busy shopping strip.
A grandmother's harrowing ordeal. Next, the victim's exclusive interview with 7 News.
Social media crime spree. A thief hit with 60 charges over snatch and run robberies.
Praying for a miracle. An Aussie family relocating to America, hoping to save their son's life.
And a touching tribute to honour a former Aussie baseball player who was brutally murdered in the US.
The grandparent economy holding up Australia in 2024. How this generation is making all the difference on 7 News Monday.
A prison officer who was a witness in a WorkSafe investigation into sexualised bullying and intimidation at Bunbury Regional Prison has died unexpectedly. In March, an investigation by the Workplace Safety Watchdog uncovered institutionalised sexual intimidation. The long-serving prison officer was part of that inquiry. The 52-year-old's death is now the subject of a coronial investigation. He was not on duty at the time.
A grandmother who fell victim to a cruel carjacking has turned sleuth to help detectives close in on the thief. The man had swindled his way into the senior's car, then sped off, and is now racking up a bill on her credit card.
Reliving the moment she fell victim to a callous carjacking. 73-year-old Annette, a grandmother, had just finished at the doctor's when a heartless thug took advantage of her trust.
Guy came up and said I had a flat tyre, so I turned around, walked to the back of the car, and then I looked up and he was in the seat.
He locked the doors. Annette begged him to hop out.
I just grabbed that door handle and I'm yelling, "Help, help."
Bystanders rushed to help the grandmother in distress, but soon her station wagon mounted the footpath and took off, leaving Annette in shock. Her wallet and phone were inside. Fearing she could have ended up in hospital, the very place she was going to visit her sick husband.
He's really not in a good place at the moment. So I was so panicky, what am I going to do? No car.
Left bewildered as to how this could happen just across the road from a police station. The thief remains on the run but is believed to be in Queensland. Annette has been helping detectives track him down with her credit card statements, which showed her card was used to buy food 3 hours north in Gympie.
7-Eleven, McDonald's, Hungry Jacks.
Her Nissan also remains outstanding with plates EXT15S.
It's not fair and someone has got to do something.
Jordan Quinn, 7 News.
Barely weeks after the disappearance of Samantha Murphy, a new tragedy has shaken communities around Ballarat. A mother of 5 has been killed, believed to be at the hands of her bikie partner, who then took his own life. It's believed Rebecca Young was stabbed to death at her home in front of her children. The deaths are now the subject of a homicide investigation.
An alleged serial thief has been hit with dozens of charges over an online crime spree that spanned 4 months. His arrest has triggered new warnings as more overseas scammers target Australians because of their relative wealth.
This man has been hit with 65 charges over a Facebook marketplace crime spree, including this snatch and grab of a $2,000 mobile phone 2 weeks ago. Police say the string of robberies spanned 4 months, accusing the 21-year-old of posing as a genuine buyer before taking advantage of dozens of victims.
Never obviously invite them to your house.
The Pakenham man is now in custody, but there are millions more just like him, and the problem is growing.
I think some of the scams are more sophisticated, but some of them still rely just on good old confidence trickery.
Staying safe can be a matter of simple precautions.
When there is a physical exchange, always meet that person in a public place, tell people you're going there, and indeed bring other people with you.
But also large corporations like Facebook are under increasing pressure to do more.
All the online marketplaces need to invest a lot more money in their trust and safety. They need to weed out those fake profiles and weed out the legitimate profiles where people are scammers.
Last year, Australians lost more than $3 billion to online scams, and as technology evolves, so do the criminals. Tech experts say Australians are a favoured target because of our relatively high average wealth.
Australians are a rich jurisdiction. We love being online. We love buying and selling online. The criminals internationally and indeed Australia-wide know that, and they prey on our vulnerabilities.
Cassie Zervos, 7 News.
Police are on the hunt for a man spotted keying cars in Sydney. A Tesla camera caught him in the act in the parking lot of a shopping centre. Detectives are treating the incident as an act of malicious damage.
An Aussie family is tonight praying for a miracle as they prepare to relocate to America, hoping to save their 5-year-old son's life. Just 6 years ago, another of their children was struck down with meningococcal. Now their youngest has aggressive cancer.
You wouldn't know it, but the Nowak family has been through more than most.
And I just thought to myself, this can't be real. I don't want to be that family again.
It was 18 months ago when Nat's mother's intuition told her something was off with her youngest child.
Murphy had just had his 4th birthday and he became really quite unwell.
4 times went back to the emergency department and said something is wrong with my child.
The diagnosis was crushing. Murphy had stage 4 neuroblastoma and aggressive childhood cancer.
You're racking your brain. Did I miss something? Could I have found it sooner? Why me?
And you can understand why she'd be asking that. When Murphy's older brother Ted was 5 months old, he almost died from meningococcal Y and bacterial meningitis.
I had actually been just breastfeeding him, and I looked at him and I could just tell something was wrong. By the time I got to the hospital, he was lifeless, non-responsive. We were praying, believing for a miracle, and he woke up.
We believe that miracles, they've happened before with Ted, and it'll happen again with Murphy.
Yeah. Murphy's tiny body's already been through 7 rounds of chemo, stem cell transplants, surgery, radiotherapy and soon immunotherapy. The family is relocating to Pennsylvania for 2 years for a clinical trial that aims to prevent relapses. Right now, there's an 85% chance Murphy's cancer will return.
Nat and I have decided to fight for our boy.
You almost feel physical pain watching your child go through. I will never forget the first moment that he lost his hair.
Their mother-son bond clearly unshakable.
But I love Mummy the best.
The Nowak family plans to leave for America in just 2 weeks, but it all hinges on a crucial scan to determine if Murphy is in remission. That scan is this week. A GoFundMe page has raised more than half the goal amount to help the Nowaks. For siblings Callista, Hugo and Ted, it means a new country, new school and new friends.
I'm hoping for a miracle.
I definitely really want that for him. Our whole family does. That's why we're doing this.
There's been a miracle for me, so then there can be a miracle for Murphy.
Choosing faith over fear.
Life happens, cancer can happen to anyone, and it's how you choose to cope.
Elspeth Hussey, 7 News.
He went out for a jog one morning and never made it back.
But Chris Lane's memory lives on. Coming up, a tribute to the promising Aussie baseballer more than a decade in the making.
A close call in Canberra as a hot air balloon makes an emergency landing.
Plus, NASA captures an eruption on the surface of the sun.
Turning back the wheels of time in a race for the ages.
And coming up in sport, Harley Reid shows his wares as one of his teammates cops an injury. Hear from Adam Simpson later as the Eagles bring back the banner.
Now, Fuel Watch. Perth's petrol prices brought to you by Fuel Watch and 7 News.
An unexpected visitor has dropped into a Canberra backyard. The pilot of a hot air balloon making an emergency landing this morning. No one was injured, but it created quite a spectacle for locals. The balloon has since been deflated and removed.
NASA's observatory has recorded a stunning solar flare. The powerful burst of energy, which ranks among the most intense on record, happened yesterday afternoon. And for scale, this video here shows just how big it was when compared to the size of Earth. Flares and solar eruptions can affect radio communications and sometimes pose a risk to astronauts and spacecraft.
A new baseball field has been built in honour of former player Chris Lane, who was brutally murdered while out for a jog in the US.
As Kate Massey reports, it was an emotional day for the players and his family.
10 years in the making, Chris Lane's legacy still lives on. This baseball field, a permanent tribute to the young player who was killed in the US. Today is the first time a game has been played here. Dad Peter Lane watching on just as he did for Chris.
He was just a basic good kid. He didn't have pretensions about his ability. He knew where he stood with the sport. He knew where he stood in life. He was a hard worker. He was a fun kid.
Chris Lane was murdered in a random and senseless drive-by shooting in Oklahoma in 2013. The 22-year-old pursuing his dream of playing Major League Baseball. Today, hundreds came together in his honour.
I use the baseball club as a place to come and just have a sit and quiet think sometimes. So to now have something here, particularly for Chris, it just means that much more.
This is one of the only dedicated Little League fields in the country, right here in the heart of Essendon where Chris grew up. His family hoping it will inspire others with their own baseball journeys.
There are Little League people on a big league experience is what we're saying, and it's going to introduce more kids to our game. They're all going to remember Chris.
His father with a message for everyone who has shown his family and him support over the past decade.
Look, it's just a thank you. People, because it has taken 10 years, people could have lost heart, people could have got worn out, people could have said it got too hard, but none of them have. They've all just pitched in.
Kate Massey, 7 News.
A small Tasmanian town has turned back the clock with dozens of cyclists hopping on penny farthings for an event like no other.
The penny brings out a certain type that I feel like I'm in my people, so, you know.
The weather, the location, the racers, it's just, what else would he be doing on a Saturday?
The contraptions from yesteryear compete in various events, including a 32-kilometre circuit.
Barron's back with more sport, and Barrett, it was a big day at the Eagles.
It was, Ange. Yes, Tim, the fans loved it. There were some good performances, but a young gun, he got hurt, and we've got the pictures next. Plus, the banner is back. The Eagles turned their back on the inflatable eagle for a more traditional look. And Adam Simpson has his say on the footy and the hole-in-one that earned a PGA player and his caddy their own rides home. West Coast draftee Clay Hall's been sent for scans after injuring his left ankle in the Eagles' final intra-club match this morning, while a number one pick, Harley Reid, lived up to expectations with a dominant display in his first proper hit-out in blue and gold. Anna Hay was there.
A fierce fend-off that sent Eagles fans into a frenzy.
Reid with an uncharismatic fumble, but just gets rid of the boy.
Harley Reid shrugging off young gun Ruben Ginbey in today's intra-club match. It was just one of many eye-catching moments from the number one draft pick. Reid played in the midfield and across half-back, where he had numerous score involvements.
He obviously does a couple of things that no one else can do, which is pretty amazing stuff in the season. I think you got to sometimes just take a backward step and just watch him go about it.
It was a day to forget for fellow draftee Clay Hall, who injured his left ankle after his lower leg was caught in a tackle. Hall has been sent for scans, but the early hope is it's low-grade damage. It's a blow for the Eagles, with Hall having a promising first pre-season.
It is definitely heartbreaking to see because, like you said, he's been super impressive. For an 18-year-old to be so strong around the ball, and he's also, like the last couple of weeks, sort of exploded out of the stoppage, which is so good to see. So, yeah, I know he'll be pretty disappointed, but fingers crossed it's not too bad.
Elliot Yeo's dominant form continued. He spent most of his time in the midfield, where he looked back to his best. Defender Jaden Hunt had an impressive first half.
I thought Hunchy did pretty well quite early. Attacked the footy from half back and really got the ball over a couple of lines, so I thought Hunchy definitely played well.
Veteran Jamie Cripps had a strong start, booting 3 quick goals.
Great set play, and Cripper finishes things with ease.
The Eagles now face the Dockers in a practice match next Saturday. Remarkably, West Coast admit they have more injuries than last year, but coach Adam Simpson feels confident heading into 2024.
We've probably got a few more injuries than this time last year, but I feel like we're a bit more prepared, a bit more durable. So the standard injuries you get is what's happening, just like every club. But yeah, the kids are sort of picking up pretty quickly, and some good signs.
Anna Hay, 7 News.
And at today's game, new Eagles CEO Don Pike with an announcement that made club great Nick Naitanui and many of the fans very happy.
I don't really like the big jumping castle thing over there running through, so I think this year we're going to bring back the banner. So that's Pikey's idea. Hopefully it works. If it doesn't work, you can blame him. As Nick said, he was really strong on it. You know, the view is we can get people in, we can get groups in to help us build this banner, get people on the ground holding it up. It's all part of the fabric of a footy club, which we value. So we're going to see it back this year. So 100% should be good. New banner ambassador here.
So the giant inflatable eagle is to be retired, and the traditional crepe paper banner is to return in 2024. It means the return of the banner squads of the past as well. Hawthorn skipper James Sicily concedes he'll have to adjust his tackling technique to avoid suspension this year. The Hawks face arch-rivals Essendon in round 1, and the Bombers believe they're ready to emerge from the footy wilderness.
One for all and all for one at the Hawks' annual Family Day. The brave faces coming after an unhappy week at Hawthorn.
Life's not fair sometimes, particularly in Blanky's case, where he put in an enormous amount of work over pre-season, and to go down with only 28 days to go until we play, it's a gut-wrenching feeling.
A 2-month hamstring for Chankuath Giath adding to the Hawks' defensive woes. The injuries opening the door for Jai Sarong and Denver Granger Barras.
We've got depth, we'll be stretched though. As I said, there'll be some sort of silver lining to come out of it.
No prizes for guessing who the fans flock to see. A very popular Jack Ginnivan rewarding their patience. The Hawks skipper presented on stage ahead of his second year at the helm, admitting he's had to make changes to avoid a repeat of last year's 3-match dangerous tackle ban.
It's hard as a player, you know, everything has to be done at full speed, otherwise you look silly. So, I mean, we do practice technique, you know, it's part of our weekly training and trying to get it right the most amount of times we can.
The Taylor Swift Eras Tour finding its way to Tullamarine, the first cut the deepest in a new look for Mason Redman.
3, 2, 1.
The popular defender raising a cool $50K to help tackle children's cancer.
Oh, it's humbling really, because I honestly didn't think I'd get that much support. I would have been pretty happy with
2,000 or 3,000. With a change of look, Redmond now intent on a Bombers change of fortune ahead of a round 1 clash with traditional rivals Hawthorn.
There's obviously no love lost. There's been obviously a big history between the two clubs.
It's always exciting. They got the better of us last time, so there's a little bit of added motive to perform better and get a better result.
Theodoropoulos, 7 News.
To cricket, and Australia has crushed South Africa in the one-off test match at the Wacker. The wickets came slowly on day 3 though. Ash Gardner breaking the deadlock with 2 quick scalps after lunch. The Proteas 7 for 210 at tea.
Beautifully taken, Annabelle Sutherland.
Yeah, what a game she had. She had a match to remember, making a brilliant 210, the 4th highest score in women's test matches, and she took 5 wickets.
Yeah, it's pretty special. Probably hasn't quite sunk in yet what exactly it means to me.
The Aussies winning by an innings and a massive 284 runs. WA's Alana King taking the final wicket. Sutherland named the player of the match. The emphatic victory means Australia claims the multi-format series 12 points to 4. And there's a new member of the 500 Test Wickets Club.
That's the breakthrough. Huge milestone for an absolute great.
Ravi Ashwin, just the 9th player to reach the milestone when he took Zach Crawley's scalp on day 2 of the 3rd Test between India and England. But hours later, the spinner pulled out of the Test match for family reasons. And Tiger Woods says illness, not injury, forced him to withdraw from his comeback tournament at the Genesis International. He hasn't played since last year's Masters, but the 15-time major winner lasted just 6 holes in the second round before succumbing to the flu and heading back to the clubhouse. On the par 3 14th, American Will Zalatoris won himself and his caddy a new car each.
It looked good the whole way. You get a car, and you get a car because you just made an ace at 14.
Australia's Jason Day is tied for second, 5 shots behind leader Patrick Cantlay at 13 under. And no cars for us, but no cars for the Wildcats either. Played Tassie tonight without Bryce Cotton, and I believe they lost. Tim,
yeah, 14
right?
They went down by the end.
Okay.
Getting it all out of the way before the playoffs.
That's it. See you guys.
Thanks, Farah. We have another hot spell on the way. I'll have your updated weather forecast next.
Let's get your tickets ready for Saturday Night Lotto.
Love learning at home? Jump back into the school year with the Sunday Times free Learn at Home posters and make homework fun. Kids will love the bright, colourful designs. There are 2 new posters every week. Continue your collection this weekend, only in the Sunday Times.
The heat will be turned up again over the next few days with a heatwave warning for most of the state. In the city today, we had a late max of 37 after it dipped to 17. Looking interstate tomorrow, 23 for Melbourne, Sydney partly cloudy and 29 and 30 for Brisbane. Here in the west, sunny and 37 for Broome, a sweltering 46 in Geraldton, hot to across the southwest, climbing to 40 in Busselton, but cooler on the south coast. On local waters, winds will be light with seas and swell to a metre. So the latest forecast has the mercury climbing to 43 in Perth tomorrow, our 6th day this month over 40 and our 8th for the summer. It'll be very warm tomorrow night, then 42 Monday and 39 Tuesday with some relief on Wednesday dropping to 28. Similar weather for Thursday, then hot again from Friday.
And now it's time for Saturday Lotto draw 4443. The winning numbers are 22, 11, 34, 28, 25, 7 and the subs are 32 and 35. Those numbers again 22, 11, 34, 28, 25, 7 and the supplementaries 32 and 35.
That's 7 News for now. Thanks for your company.
I'll be back with evening updates. Stay with us for Border Security, followed by your Saturday night movie, The Bourne Ultimatum.